Okay, thank you. That was that's a very good warning. Otherwise, I would go like, boy, is my presentation that good or that bad? You never know. could go both ways. Well, with my presentation, first of all, it's impossible to finish, and because just the blueberry alone, that's like 3 days, and brambles and blueberry, blackberries, raspberries, maybe 3 hours, 4 or 5 hours. But anyway, so today I'm going to kind of touch upon just a few things, and hopefully get you get you enough information to at least get you kind of started thinking about blueberry production, or brambles, raspberries, and blackberries. And well, that's one way to get invited back. So you never finish, and so you will always be invited back. That's most of the time, that's a good thing. I'll go ahead and get my first part will be blueberry production. Well, with blueberries, and it's a lot of people are excited about blueberry production, and there's quite a bit of data everywhere. And if you talk to folks in Ohio, they get plenty excited. But worldwide, it's kind of crazy. All the way in the United States, and our traditional states are New Jersey, Michigan, maybe North Carolina, Oregon. All over the world, you have Chile, you have even Korea, China. So everybody plants blueberries. So for Ohio, we can easily get pretty excited because our production is really not that huge. We have about this is data is kind of old. We probably have about 40-some acres, 400-some acres in Ohio, and that's really not very much. That's not very much blueberries, and so there's definitely plenty room for folks in Ohio to plant some blueberries. Traditionally, let's see, do I have a map? One time. Between kind of watching March Madness, and I figured, well, maybe I'll just place a few dots on the map, and just to see where all of our blueberry farms are. And these are not all of them, so I just kind of put a few up there. And as you can see from the map that we have a few in Southwest Ohio, and then we added a few in Marietta area, Southeast Ohio. So as you go, you kind of look at the map. So typically more like a northeast, maybe towards central a little bit. So when you look at the northwest side, you go like, hey, what happened? Well, it's all about soil conditions. On the northwest side, most of their soils are quite alkaline, so blueberries do not like that. In the past, I pretty much just kind of tell folks, well, kind of maybe tough luck because of our soil conditions. And then 2-3 years ago, and I submitted a grant to work on container production of blueberries. And then by then, I was like, boy, that was just a crazy idea for research. And let's see how good it is, and then maybe in year 2 or year 3, and we will know, maybe we could grow blueberries in containers. That would be a pretty nice option for folks in Northwest Ohio. And then we look at economics and look at how difficult it is, and we kind of struggled really hard for a few years. And then last year we got, well, when I say we, it's mostly me, kind of getting excited about these ideas. After 2 years of, about a year and a half of, kind of hard struggle, and then by the end of last year, our blueberry bushes looked really nice. We were able to figure out the growing media or substrate, and also the container size, and maybe overwintering techniques. Now I get extremely excited, especially when I go out of state, and then I went to California. Boy, they have acres and acres of blueberries in containers under hoop houses. And then when I look beyond our United States and Holland and Australia, even South Africa. They grow blueberries in containers big time. So it's initially I thought it was just kind of a novel, crazy idea, and now it's I can see lots and lots of potential for Ohio. So if your soil conditions are not just acidic, maybe there's still potential, but you also have to worry about water too. And if you were to say start a blueberry planting in this part of the state, and you need to make sure that you have your well water tested. It's actually much better to use to have a pond so you can collect rainwater, so the alkalinity of your water is not as high. So I would say have your water tested, and then we can talk. We have a few blueberry farms in Ohio. Many of you know about the blueberry patch in Lexington, Ohio, Mansfield. And then we have a few, this is East Canton area, just beautiful, beautiful blueberry bushes. And then go on, and it's pretty neat. And whenever you grow any kind of specialty crops, you need to worry about these critters, and whether that would be deer or birds. And this gentleman here, and he's got a really neat fence, and it almost looks like a state kind of a correctional institute, and nothing would really go in, nothing would come out either. So it's a beautiful fence. He does everything in style. About probably 15 acres of blueberries. Just one of the best blueberry farms in Ohio. So it is possible to get something this nice, and then you have an older couple, and they have about 6 acres of blueberries, and that would be Geauga County area, and then this is I took a picture, and this is during the growing season, busy season. And he went like, oh, why did you keep this picture? There are a lot of weeds. But that still looks pretty good. Just kind of during the spring season, everybody gets busy. And then I always use this picture to remind me, blueberry bushes, it's kind of hard to get them established. But once you get them going, they can last a long, long time. And this particular one, these bushes about 50, 60 years old. So they, in theory, they can last maybe 100, 150 years. So what you do is after about 30, 40, 50 years, you would prune them really hard. In good old state up north, and they call that mowing. So you actually cut all the canes to the ground using a machinery, and you really tear up all the old stubs. Once you do that, you get them all rejuvenated, and then get them all good as new. So with blueberries, and typical yield in Ohio can range from 3,000 pounds to 4,000 pounds, or about 8 to 10,000. I think the record for the total yield per acre, it's about 8,000 pounds. If anybody can get more than that, they normally wouldn't tell me. So they're just going to be happy and trying to keep all that money. And then pretty much everybody in Ohio, they do pick your own because of the labor shortage. So pick your own pricing typically varies quite a bit. And the cheapest one, who happens to be a grain farmer, and he inherited this blueberry farm from his family, and he didn't have much input, and didn't have to plant a single bush, and just kind of didn't really prune and didn't really do much of anything, and then just let the blueberry bushes grow, and then he would just tell people, hey, y'all come and pick berries. So that's about $1.50. So for folks who put into a lot of work, all the way from irrigation to pruning to disease management, I would say the statewide average is about $3.50. So if you charge less than that, you need to increase the pricing a little bit. I've seen good growers charging about $2.75 to $3. To me, that's on the low side. So I would say about $3.50. And the highest to pick your own price in Ohio is $4, and as of maybe maybe 2-3 years ago. But anyway, this guy who can garner that, his blueberries just are amazing. Every single one of them looks like a showberry. He would sell them to restaurants. He would pick those and sell them to restaurants. And also for pick your own, he would actually you cannot just go to his farm to pick. You have to get his permission. So you call him and he will tell you, okay, do not come at all, or come on a certain day. So very, very, very selective, and very neat, very good blueberry grower. And then we have a few. This one is in let's see. This was in in Lorraine County, and then it's an older blueberry farm, and they have been going at it for many, many years. And then the only sad news is the owners are getting up there in age, and about 70 some, and they're not that excited about growing blueberries anymore. They would rather probably travel all over the world. So this farm is actually for sale. And then we have plenty of folks who get excited and they wanted to plant new blueberries, and this is in Geauga County again. Geauga County, and then not that brand new anymore, and new planting. We also have a few on the west, toward Dayton area, Warren County, Greene County, and all that. So plenty folks, and it's pretty neat how they do things. And then typically what they do is, this gentleman here, it's a husband and wife deal. And so they didn't know how good of a marketing job it's going to be. So they planted about 2 acres, 2.25. And so because they were thinking, well, would we sell our blueberries? And so with their marketing effort, just Facebook, and also a sign on the road, blueberries ripening in 2 weeks, and this and that. And then it turns out that they didn't really have to advertise, and people have been watching them growing blueberry bushes for several years. And so as soon as they were ready, the customers were ready. And then this is another example, just a school teacher, and they planted 1 acre of blueberries. And with blueberries, you typically need 2 different varieties for cross-pollination. Well, if you just have 1 variety, it will still produce fruits. If you have 2, they will produce more. So cross-pollination is very beneficial. So what this person has is she's a school teacher. She does not want to mess with the general public because she's had enough during the school year. During the school year. But anyway, she just planted one variety, which is a blue crop. It's one of the best, most dependable varieties that we have for Ohio. It's kind of not a new variety. It's kind of old. We have another one. It's called Blue Ray, and that's Blue Ray is the most productive blueberry variety that we have. So if you were to plant blueberries, I would encourage you to probably think about Blue Ray, and also maybe second choice would be Blue Crop. And this lady here, and she does the pruning, pest management, and then for marketing, just one little ad. This is in Worcester. Just one little ad in local newspaper on one Saturday. Pick your own. On this Saturday, everybody comes and they wipe her out to, clean up all the fruits in one day. So, and they also, I told the owner, well, maybe you want to plant a couple, maybe another variety, blue, they have blue crops, so maybe Blue Ray for cross-pollination. But anyway, so this is the husband of that blueberry operation. They grow, they're in the greenhouse operation, and he's very good at propagating plants. Okay, pick your own. It can get a little bit nutty, and this is in southern Ohio. in Clermont County where I used to work, and it's just neat to see this. It looks like almost people are getting ready for a concert, but they're actually out there picking blueberries. $2.75 a pound, and then I guess one time he counted they had, I don't know, maybe 3,000 cars or something. It was some crazy number I couldn't comprehend. So very, very successful business. And then this is a small planting in I believe that was in Geauga County again. This is my buddy Eric Draper. His dad was a blueberry breeder, and there's one variety that's named after his dad. Actually, two of them. One is Draper, and other one is Arlen. That's his dad's first name. But anyway, and then this is a very successful blueberry operation. And we have been doing kind of research at OSU South Centers in Piketon for quite a few years. And I joined South Centers in 2011. So before you get too excited, and I always tell folks with blueberry production, while blueberries kind of need a few things. First thing is acidic soil. Okay, acidic soil, we're talking about 4.5 soil pH, and that's kind of rare for Ohio. But if you do have it, low soil pH, talk to me first, and let's think about blueberry production. And this is what the previous pictures and what a bunch of people are picking. They used to be apple growers, so they tested one site for more apple planting, and then they found out it was going to take truckloads, like about 6 tons of lime per acre, and all that. So the husband went like, okay, let's get the lime and let's raise the soil pH. The wife went like, well, why don't we grow blueberries? Husband said, well, we're not blueberry growers. And then the wife said, well, we could become blueberry growers. So after a few rounds of discussion, and I like to kind of see that discussion, and needless to say, the wife won again. But anyway, that was probably the best decision they have ever made. Well, first year it was not fun. So they planted blueberries, and they did not know what they were doing. Lost a lot of bushes, but they went to blueberry nurseries in the state up north, and then they learned quite a bit. And over the years, and boy, they made a lot of money from these blueberries. So the first thing is acidic soil 4.5. Second thing is good drainage. Well, in the traditional blueberry states, most of the blueberries are grown in sandy soil with high organic matter. So basically, the blueberry plantings look like a beach. Nothing else grows except blueberries. So you need a good soil drainage. You also need high organic matter content. So in Ohio, we don't have that natural condition. So we use elemental sulfur to lower soil pH. We also build raised beds for improved soil drainage. We also add a lot of peat moss, lots of peat moss, or sawdust, or pine fines, all kinds of organic matter to increase soil organic matter content. So once you do that, blueberries, boy, if you get them happy, they will be very, very productive. If not, first year they're just going to sit there. Next year they're going to do less, and third year they might just die. So anyways, they don't need very many. And then in terms of varieties, and when you look at when you go through your catalog, you see all kinds of exciting pictures and loaded with fruits. And well, these pictures in the catalog, they were taken somewhere, but not necessarily in Ohio. So if you get excited just from the pictures, and then that might be a little bit misleading. Actually, these pictures did come from Ohio. So if you were to select varieties, I would say, if you were to select one, then I would say Blue Ray would be my choice. If you select two, I would say blue crop. If you were to select maybe third one, I might say Draper. Okay, if you go beyond those three, and then it's almost anybody's guess. Okay, probably fourth one would be Duke. That's an early variety, but boy, it's hard to grow. It's very hard to grow, and a lot of people, a lot of our growers kind of struggle with it. So that would be an early season variety. If you were to go with the late season variety, and that would be Elliott. Okay, with late season variety, depending on where you are, if you are more like in northern Ohio, you might be pushing maybe late August, early September. By that time, pick your own kind of craze. It might be a little bit over, so you kind of have to make sure you have customers coming for your blueberries. So we have quite a few Duke, and I only know one grower who can grow beautiful Duke, and this gentleman, and he used to be a machinist, and just very particular about everything, and that's the one with the tall fence, kind of state penitentiary, Federal Correctional Institute type of deal. So Blu-ray, I already talked about it, and Draper, really good. One thing I liked about Draper is the bushes are not very big. You go like, boy, this just does not look like it can produce very much, but very compact, very productive, and very good flavor, and then the fruits are quite firm. The only thing I don't like about Draper is when they first turn blue, they do not taste very sweet. So you kind of have to wait for 7 to 10 days to pick them. And so if you were to plant this variety, make sure you kind of block them out, and once they're ready, and you tell your customers go there and to pick those. So blue crop, and I already mentioned it. And so in Ohio, these varieties you'll probably get about if I were to get 4,000 to 5,000 pounds per acre, I would be pretty pleased. And so if you get 6, and so that's kind of, you just laugh all the way to the bank.
Are you counting what you get or what you and the birds get?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good question. So the question is, are you counting what you are getting, or are you counting what you and the birds get? I have all kinds of crazy stories. We have one blueberry grower, and he's got about maybe 20 acres, and he didn't have that many blueberries berries to begin with. And so when the berries were ripening, he got excited, and he put a sign there, blueberries, pick your own. And looks like birds can read the sign too. And then initially 200 birds, and then 5,000, 10,000 birds. I mean, it looked like the Albert Hitchcock movies. It was awful. And then 2 or 3 days later, he had to take out the sign, no blueberries. So that's a very good comment. And so I would say it's a must to have. You could try all kinds of things. You could try cannons, those things, and just kind of that goes off once in a while. I think those are designed just to scare people like me. I go to the farm and then just take nice pictures. Boom, give me a mini heart attack. So I have actually seen birds just kind of perching on these cannons. So I would say it only works maybe. I don't know if it actually works once. And then you have these distress calls. Boy, they can drive you crazy. I mean, all those birds and kind of, really do they do anything? I don't know. Birds are not that stupid. Yeah, birds, you were always talking about the bird brain, that they're very tiny. Boy, they make full use of that. Actually, I don't know, maybe like what micrograms. They're the daggone smart. These robins, they're having a good old time just kind of roaming around in your blueberry planting when you have these distress calls. And some people will put fake owls, in their blueberry planting. One time I went to a training, and you see a big spot of bird poop right on top of on the head of that fake owl. So you know how well that works. And then what else? I would say netting. It's all about netting, unless you're related to Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. You can rent your falcons. Boy, that thing works. What it does is you hire this falcon. Well, you hire the bird, and you also hire the trainer. And then what he does, or he or she does, is just have this bird kind of perching on his arm. Just tell his employee to go roam around. And then what falcons do is they don't eat those things. What they do is they will catch one and put there, kind of one by one, line them up to show the other birds, if you come, you're going to be like these guys. So $5,000 per acre. It's going to protect about maybe 50 maybe acres. That's the good news. Bad news is most of our plantings are not that huge. So I would say it's all about netting. Okay, so if you were to have 30 acres of blueberries, some of our blueberry farmers, there's only one. The biggest blueberry farmer in Ohio has about 27 acres. He doesn't net his birds. Doesn't net the planting area, and he estimated he would probably lose about 10%. 10%. But my feeling is, he probably loses more than that. And he always tells me whenever you have lots of customers, and then 10% is from 27 acres. That's a lot of money. Just think about he charges $3.50 per pound. That's just a little quick math without taking off my shoes. That's still a lot of money. Long answer for for a short question. So it's all about netting. Even with netting, and you can get birds inside. So before too long, you have to turn yourself into a fisherman, kind of fix your netting all kinds of ways. Improving soil. You have to add quite a bit of peat moss. This is what our folks did at OSU South Centers in Piketon. Our pH was not that high, about 6.2. With pH, whenever you kind of change 2 units from 4 to 6, that's a photo of 100. So it takes quite a bit to lower the soil pH. Typically, it takes about 6 to 8 months to lower the soil pH. I can spend maybe 45 minutes just on fertilization, but the main thing to remember is blueberries do not like nitrate fertilizer. So when you apply nitrogen fertilizer, you would go with the NH4, ammonia or urea. So those two are the preferred nitrogen source. And then they can get all kinds of nutrient disorders. Very common one would be iron chlorosis. So if you were to have somewhat alkaline soil, you will see this a lot. On the newer leaves, leaves will become chlorotic between veins. And so we pretty much know, without really going, if you send me a picture, I could pretty much tell it's iron chlorosis. With iron chlorosis, the permanent fix is lower soil pH. But the temporary fix would be to apply iron chelate. Okay, and actually this year we're going to do a little study for a company in Salt Lake City, Utah. I used to think iron chelates, and they're all the same. You have iron EDTA. You also have iron EDDHA. Okay, that's what they use on the West Coast. Iron EDDHA is much more expensive than iron EDTA. but the DHA would work a whole lot better than EDTA. And then the latest technology is you can actually do something to this EDTA iron, and then by adding this nano fertilizer, and then you should make it even more effective in terms of uptake. So we're going to do a study this year by applying nano fertilizer or nano iron. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, so these are all kinds of control measures. We used to have a bird repellent that could be used. Well, that was used, and it was very, very effective. But our good old EPA took that away from us. Very, very nice. So that's all about netting, netting, and then there are different kinds of netting, and it's pretty expensive to put it up, and quite pain to deal with. But again, without netting, you pretty much won't really have a blueberry business. And then with the netting that's used, and you can actually, according to the manufacturer, the netting should be good for maybe 5, 10, 15 years, but you do have to protect them. So at the end of the season, you would roll them. They're kind of like a shower curtains. You roll them all the way to one side or two, and then you wrap them up with black plastic to protect the netting material from UV damage. And then I mentioned very briefly about container blueberry production, and for the part of Ohio that does not have a very low, very acidic soil, I would say, think about container production. First year we kind of struggled pretty hard. We used the pine fine, composted pine fine. Some people call that the soil conditioner. Other people will call that more like a mulch. And then nursery trade, it's just, the technical term is a substrate. But anyway, so it's a loblolly pine, composted loblolly pine. pH is about 4.6. We figure, well, that should be, when I say we, again, this is me. Because whenever we make mistakes, mistakes, we can always blame the technicians. So, hey, it's you. Anyways, so the loblolly pine, the native pH is 4.6. And you would think, boy, we're home free. It turns out, first year, they just kind of sat there. We watered, my technician watered. The blueberry bushes looked pathetic. I mean, they just looked like they were going to die. I was like, boy, how do I write that final report, or even the quarterly report for a grant? And nothing grew. So I told my technician, well, there has to be something wrong. Is it our fertilization program? So we increased the rate, double the rate. That was one problem. And then I also told him, let's maybe have our irrigation water tested. And our alkalinity was high, so we bought an injector. And then second year, after we increased the fertilizer rate, and then also added sulfuric acid to our irrigation water, our blueberry bushes started taking off. So I got a whole lot more optimistic. We got a little bit extension, so we'll finish our project this year. And then I talked to, because we kind of talk to all kinds of newspaper people, and they contact us. And then a few press releases later, I got a phone call, email from a company in Holland, and Allegro, and they actually did a 7-year study, and then figured out exactly what kind of media that they would use. And ours is just easy. The one we selected is just easier to get. It's a byproduct of paper industry. So anyway, and theirs is a whole lot more sophisticated. a whole lot more sophisticated. Okay, a whole lot more sophisticated, and they had the containers they used ranged from 5 gallons to 7 gallons, and we used the 10-gallon containers. And these guys are looks like 7 years, and they learned a whole lot more things than we did, because with these containers in pots, and I was thinking, man, how do we protect them during the winter month? You don't want to leave them out there because the roots might be damaged by cold temperatures. So we went like, well, maybe we could protect them like we do with strawberries, plastic culture strawberries. So we laid them on the side and covered them up, with row covers. That was one method. And then we put some of them in a high tunnel. That would work, but you have to move them. And then I saw this little operation. So what they did was, and they actually built raised beds, okay, like you normally would, with tomatoes and even blueberries. And then they cut these big holes, and just sank the pots into the raised beds. Okay, so this about maybe 1/3 of the pot actually gets buried in the raised beds. So it's it looks like just by doing that much, you're still growing your blueberries in containers, but you protect your pots, the roots, and then they just left them there year round. So we haven't tested this method, but my feeling is if you bury, well, actually I've seen large pots just left wide open, and they will still do okay. But for a large investment like this, and I would definitely need a whole lot more research data to make sure they do survive. But anyway, so this is a good option to think about, and then even though our grant will end by September this year, we might try this a little bit, because we're not going to just throw our potted blueberries away. We're going to try this method and just kind of follow this for maybe a few more years. This is a pretty nice option. And then this is what growers do in California. Land is very expensive. It takes about $4,000 to $5,000 to rent 1 acre over there. It's kind of ridiculous, but people do that. So these are all blueberry bushes growing in containers, acres and acres. And there's one farm where they have about 200 blueberries in 200 acres in 200 blueberry bushes in containers. And this is what our blueberry bushes look like as of last year. They look a whole lot better the first year, and I didn't want to even show you the pictures. And we look like buffoons, not very good looking blueberry bushes. And now they started growing, started taking off. And we tried all kinds of, in addition to media, we tried all kinds of pots too. Some of them are kind of cheap, and relatively, maybe $2-3 kind of cloth type. And then others are kind of a Cadillac version. These with air holes, and then supposedly, here we go. Well, this is good reminder. I'm halfway, maybe 2/3 way. Okay, so that was just a quick rundown of how to grow blueberries. If I forget anything, there's a bulletin. It's called Midwest Blueberry Production Guide. Even though it has a University of Kentucky cover on it, and I was one of the co-authors. And then in the bulletin, there are about maybe 40-50 pictures. 50 pictures from me. So I was a very active contributor to this. If you feel generous, you can buy a bulletin for $20 from us. Or if you feel kind of relatively cheap, you can get a free copy online. Just Google Midwest Blueberry Production Guide, and you can get a PDF file online. So anyway, so it's a very good bulletin, and we put a lot of work into it. But if you're thinking about blueberry production, let me know, and hopefully before my grant money runs out, maybe I could pay you a visit and kind of help you. Or if you want to come to beautiful Southern Ohio, Piketon area, drive to Piketon. You could check out our planting too, or even better yet, and just visit a few blueberry farms in Ohio, and then check out their pros and cons, whether that would be a good idea for you to start doing that. Okay, any questions about blueberry production?
Just wondering the cost per acre of putting in blueberries.
Okay. So what about the cost of putting in an acre of blueberries? It varies a lot. Okay, varies a lot. So first thing is we're talking about the soil media. That would be peat moss. That's very expensive. So nowadays, especially when Canadian suppliers may not get much, and so I would say maybe we could look into aged sawdust. So that will save you some money. Typically, I would say, well, you could spend as little as $4,000, as much as $20,000. So depending on how you do it. So plant when you buy blueberry bushes, just the plants themselves can run you about $3,000-$4,000. Okay, the bird netting. Fortunately, you don't have to do that during the first year. The first 3 years, first 2 years, I actually recommend folks kind of removing the flowers and make sure they don't produce any fruits, so the plants will grow. So you will probably get a small crop during the third year, and maybe a much larger crop. So I would say $4,000 to all the way to $20,000, maybe $8,000 to $10,000 would be more like a happy medium. So that's a very good question. And then for bird netting, depending on how you do it, if you hire your buddies and hire a few able friends, and you might be able to do it with a reasonable cost. But if you hire some commercial kind of fence contractor, that could set you back a lot. So very could be pretty expensive. But if you have a mature blueberry planting now, that would be a pretty nice gold mine. But it takes a lot of patience to get there. Okay, well, very good question. And so let's kind of switch gears and maybe talk about brambles. That would include raspberries and then blackberries. And it's pretty neat. And there has been quite a few commercials, quite a few news releases about how healthy, how good raspberries and blackberries are. Nowadays, there are both blueberries and raspberries and blackberries. They are kind of the poster children for healthy foods and super fruits. So you don't really need to convince people that blackberries and raspberries are actually good for them. So how many acres do we have in Ohio? I would say about 400 acres of raspberries and maybe about 400 acres of blackberries. Okay, so it's just kind of a little bit difference. And then with raspberries, black raspberries, when you pull them off, the receptacle kind of stays on the plant. That's why it's kind of more of a hollow cap. So blackberries, and the receptacle comes with the fruits, so it's not hollow in the middle. Okay, so lots of good reasons to grow those. And so if you were to think about raspberries, and I would say drainage. Okay, when we look at our major raspberry farms in Ohio, two largest ones are in southern Ohio, one in Wilmington area, about maybe 30-40 acres of raspberries, and then there's one in Champaign County, about 25-27 acres, and the common denominator is good soil drainage. Okay, very good soil drainage. So how do we get around that? Well, building raised beds. Okay, make sure the raised beds are plenty high, about 12 inches high, because they will sink eventually. And then farmers are used to doing the tile drainage, and 40, 50 feet apart. But for specialty crops, we're talking about maybe every 9 to 10 feet, much closer. So basically, you install tile drainage between rows. Okay, there are folks who have installed tile drainage right underneath the rows, and that would work too. But a lot of folks do either way, between rows or underneath the rows. Okay, that could be pretty expensive. Okay, and then I don't know whether it's advertisement or what. We all of a sudden our folks started planting blackberries like crazy. Okay, traditionally blackberries are not known to be cold hardy in Ohio. While the plants are cold hardy, so the roots are going to live after year, but the canes are not. What's going to happen is if we have a very cold winter, canes will be damaged, flowers will be damaged. They just won't have they will not have a crop. And then there's a brand new system. It's called rotatable cross-arm trellis. Rotatable cross-arm trellis. What it does is you can actually it's a trellis, and you put all the canes on the trellis, and you actually flip them. So around December sometime, you flip them all the way to the ground level, and you cover them up with row covers. And that's a pretty expensive proposition, about $22,000 per acre. Well, the growers who put in that kind of system must have crunched the numbers. And so we have our biggest grower in Ohio has about 22 acres, and he wants to double that planting. And then we have people who put in 5, 10, 15 acres at a time. And just think about it, and just for the simple math, 10 acres, 22,000. Before too long, and I always tease people, we're still talking about American money, good old greenbacks. But anyway, so that's a lot of money. But we have folks who put in that much, and I believe this is Ada's. Well, what county is that? My brain's just drawing a blank. Erie County. I believe it was either produce farmer or grain farmer. He put in 15 acres, a pretty large planting. Anyways, so traditionally this is how we grow blackberries, and just go the hedgerow system, and then we use the variety that I would recommend. For that is a good old Chester Thornless. Is it the best tasting blackberry? Well, it's probably not, but folks still like it. If you add a lot of sugar, making blackberry cobblers, this would be a pretty good variety. And then the second one is Triple Crown. It's not as cold hardy. You can easily get damaged floral kings. So it may not be the great. So this is what they look like when you don't have winter damage. And then this is how we grow them, just like a good old hedgerow, and you have 3-4 floral canes popping up, and then just let them grow like that, and then they can be quite productive, somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000 pounds per acre, and sometimes 10. 12,000. So when you get them, boy, it's a good day or good year. At Piketon, we have a few blackberry plantings. When we had polar vortexes, we could hardly find any blackberries. And then in 2013, we had so many blackberries. Actually, our farm guys, they liked blackberries, and that year they hated blackberries. Just so many, and then they just kept coming. So this is what they look like, and one bush can produce maybe 12, 13, 15 pounds of blackberries. So that's a lot of blackberries. But this is what they look like when they don't produce. And so you have very healthy plants, new canes, but the floral canes are dead. So that's where your fruits come from for that year. Anyway, so just consistently, what can we do? So high tunnel would be one method, and that's a good way to produce blackberries. And I do know one grower, he swears by the method, and he always, that's the same blueberry grower, and he also grows raspberries and apples. He said when it's pick your own time for his blackberries, and he has people waiting 30, 40 deep. Anyway, for his high tunnel operation. And this is what we have at Piketon. It's not a very good high tunnel, mainly because it's free. You do need to have a four season high tunnel. It does work very well. The thing I was kind of pleasantly surprised by is fruits are well pollinated inside high tunnels. Many thanks to all kinds of wild bees, and there are a few honeybees. And if you want to have a large planting, maybe bumblebees would be helpful. But anyway, well pollinated, glossy fruits, and this is Natchez, really huge. As you can tell by the ruler, almost like 2 inches long, just huge blackberries. And that's my kind of nice fringe benefit, eating a few of these berries from our high tunnel. It does work, but you have to crunch the numbers for economics. This is Dr. John Clark. See all these blackberries loaded with fruits. And this is what the system I was talking about, rotatable cross-arm trellis. And a company markets this, trellis growing systems. And I don't know how the patent law works. And some folks will buy these fiberglass trellis materials. Other folks go like, oh, I can make this myself. So we have a few growers who do this in Ohio. So don't know how legal it is. So I know where they are, but I won't tell. Unless I get a phone call from FBI and then still won't tell. Okay, and so for the rotatable cross-arm trellis, so we're talking about Washita, Natchez, and those for northerners, so you go like, oh, Washita, and then Natchez, and for southerners, oh, I know what that is. You have Washita River and Natchez something. And so those are common names in the South. So if you were to do this, use this system, I would say Washita, Natchez, and Osage, and that's another nice variety. And so this is how we protect them. You cover them up with row covers. You need to have lots and lots of labor for this. For cane manipulation, pruning, and also harvesting. And then our growers in Ohio, sometimes some folks do pick your own, others will wholesale, will do the wholesale for sell them all over the country. So this is what they look like, and lots and lots of fruits, and it was initially designed for pick your own. And then this is how this 22 acre farm for a blueberry grower, sells them all over the country. So having lots of labor is very, very important. And another option is to grow primocane bearing varieties. And Primark 45, it's a very popular variety on the West Coast. But for us, there are two newer varieties. Freedom would be Primark Freedom would be a nice selection. But for southern Ohio, it does work well. For northern Ohio, you need some kind of winter protection, whether it's a high tunnel or what. I don't have maybe 2 or 3 minutes left. Raspberry production didn't get a chance to talk about it too much. We have there are red raspberries, black raspberries, yellow ones, and also purple ones. So red raspberry production, it's very, very popular. Black raspberries are very popular too, but over the years, cold winters kind of have hurt our black raspberries quite a bit. So this year we are going to test pretty much all of the commercially available cultivars and to see how good they are. There's a new variety of red raspberries. It's called Eden. It's supposed to be better, more tolerant. More tolerant to Phytophthora root rot, so we're going to test it. And black raspberries, and there's a newer primocane bearing variety. It's called Niwat, so that's pretty exciting. And so we're going to test them, and we also tested raspberries and blackberries in containers, and they. Contrary to blueberries, boy, they were pretty easy to grow in containers, good old 10-gallon containers. And the variety that's well adapted for container production, it's called Koali. Forgot how to. If you are thinking about it, let me know. It's a very good variety. It's an ever-bearing variety. It produces 2 different crops. So there are red raspberries, and if you have good soil drainage, they're not that hard to grow. So black raspberries, you need to kind of count on your luck a little bit with weather. And blackberries, I would say with winter protection, whether that would be high tunnel or rotatable cross-arm trellis, and it's a pretty viable option for Ohio. If you grow them on a good old hedgerow system in the open field, you just have to know, well, some years you just don't get a whole lot of fruits. And there are fruit growers who are perfectly fine with that. They do not like it, but that's our good old Ohio. I'm going to stop here because there's food coming that way. I do not want to kind of stop you from getting too delicious food. Thank you.